Again, welcome back. We're going to continue working on our weather app. So far we got the user interface working. We are conditionally rendering our temperature data. And we've got our form handling a submit action. Okay, so now we just need to do something when you submit the form. So I'm going to remove this object here as the default value for set state. We were just using it to show how we're going to put the temperature in there. I'm going to put this back to null because we actually don't have any data to load yet, right? Okay, and then next, what I want to do is handle the loading action here. So how are we going to do that? Let's do this. I think a good way to do this is to give ourselves a function to handle that. I'm going to put this function inside the weather component here like this. Maybe because it'll be a little bit long, I'm going to put a line here and another line here. And then inside here I can say, function, and then I'll say, how about fetch weather? How about that? That looks pretty good, right? Maybe get weather, I don't know. Anyway, that'll be good, right? And what I want to do is I want to call the fetch weather function from inside of this on submit. So I'll say fetch weather, and there we go, right? And we're going to do the things that I had here up here. So we're going to, fetch the weather and then set the data, okay? But we're going to do there'll be a little bit more. This is a few steps right here. So, but if we condense them, it's, I'll write it like this, but it'll be a few steps to get that to happen, right? Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use fetch, right? So fetch is the built-in method that we can use to make network calls in JavaScript, and it returns a promise, right? When we work with a promise, it's a little tricky. You can either do .then, or if you want to wait for a promise to resolve, you can do await. And the await system is a little bit cleaner. It's a little bit nicer to read. But in order to use await, you must use, it can only be used inside of an async function. So I'm going to mark this function as async. So I'll put the keyword async in front of function there. So now this function is asynchronous. An asynchronous function, by the way, always returns a promise. Okay, so that means actually we could handle fetch weather down here with .then. Okay, maybe we'll get into, we'll go through the code here first, and then later we'll come back to this and we'll break down the whole idea of async and await and promise. Okay, so just go with me now, and then we'll come back and revisit this and kind of look at it when it's all complete. Okay. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, first of all, we need to get the URL that we're going to call on. So this is going to be the path, right? So let's go find that. I'm going to go into my browser here, and we're going to use the openweathermap.org, right? So openweathermap.org, right? So openweathermap.org, all one word, right? Openweathermap. And you'll need to make an account. So go here, create a new account for yourself, or I'm going to log in because I already have an account. Let me see here. There we go, right? There's my account. And then I'm going to go to the API right here, right? So I'll go to their API. And then you can see here they have a few different APIs. So they have current weather data, hourly forecast 4 days, one call API, daily forecast 16 days, climate forecast, bulk downloading. They have a whole bunch of options. Solar radiation API, ooh, new, right? Road risk API, super cool, right? So there's kind of a lot of fun stuff you could do with this. There's a whole bunch of these, right? As you work down at the bottom here, I guess it doesn't show it here. Maybe it's under pricing. Yeah, so if you go to pricing, some of their APIs cost money, like you have to sign up and pay them a monthly fee or a yearly fee or something, right? Some of the APIs are free. So if I go to pricing here, you can see free, and it shows me what is free. So current weather data is free, minute forecast 1 hour, hourly forecast 2 days, daily forecast 7 days, national weather alerts, right? So these are all free. If I want to use those other APIs, then I have to sign up and subscribe, okay? So we're just going to use the current weather data because that one's free. And this allows us up to 60 calls in a minute and 1 million calls in a month. So I don't think we're going to run into that, right? So 60 calls in a minute, we have to call it like once every second, right? So I think we're going to be okay. So once you've created an account, go to your user thing here and go to My API Keys. Okay, you'll click on that, and then you can copy your API key here. You'll actually have to, you might have to generate an API key if you're here for the first time, right? Or you can regenerate an API key. I'm going to just copy this key here and use this one. Okay, so once you got your API key, let's paste it in here like this. So I'm going to say const API key equals, and I'll put this string there, okay? And next, we're going to need the path to the weather data. Oops, I closed that already. Let me undo that, right? So next, we're going to go to the API over here. And I'm going to go to the current weather data and go to the API doc. And in the API doc, it shows us the different ways you can use this API. So it gives us the address here, right? So it gives us the path right here. And there's a few ways we can use it. We can use it by city name. We can call it by city ID. I guess every city has an ID number. We can call it by geographic coordinates. So if you have your latitude and longitude, you can use this to get your weather information. You can also call it by zip code. So I'm going to use this one because it's kind of easiest. It's easy to ask people what their zip code is, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this path right here. They don't show you the whole thing because it really should be https / right, colon / right? So so I'll copy this right here, right? And we're going to create the path here. So I'm going to say const path equals, and then I'm going to use the back quotes right here and paste the address that I copied here, and then I'm going to add https colon / right at the beginning, right? And let's go take a quick look. I think they have a sample here. I'm going to look for it here. Where is it? Where's zip code there? I guess zip code doesn't have one, but I think if you click on, no, wait, that's not it. They have a link here that lets you test the data. Well, I can't remember where that is here. It's somewhere in here. Bulk downloading weather. Oh, maybe it's down here under response. Yeah, I guess they don't have the sample link anymore. Oh, maybe they do here. No, that's the bulk sample. But anyway, they're going to give us a JSON object, and it's going to look like this. Okay? So it's pretty complicated, gives us a lot of information. And so we're going to have to navigate through this after we load the data and then kind of pick out the pieces that we want. So for example, maybe I want the temperature, and I want the main, actually there's a description in there somewhere. Oh yeah, description, here it is, right? So I want that one maybe, right? And you could pull out some other things too, like feels like, or temperature min and max, right? Humidity might be useful. Okay, so anyway, so I think we're in a pretty good spot here to get started, right? So what are we going to do next? Okay, so this is the address right here, but what we need to do is we need to supply the zip code and potentially the country code and the API key. Okay, so since we're using the back quotes here, I'm going to take the API key right here and put the $ in front of it, and then include my variable API key. Okay, and then I'm going to leave off the country code. This works, it usually works without the country code, so I'm going to leave that off. And then I'm going to change this to zip. So we have, remember, we have the zip code up here as a variable. The unit can also be included in the API call too. So at the end here, I'm going to add that on. You can look that up in their API doc, right? So the way that this path works is the URL is everything up to the question mark. So everything to the left of the question mark is the URL. This takes us to their server. After the question mark, this is information that we're passing to the server. So it's name and value pairs. So name is zip, value is whatever we put here, ampersand, the next name value pair, API ID equals, and then the API key value. So if I want to add another value on the end, I can put the ampersand and then do units equals, and then I put the value that I want to have for that key. So I'll put unit here. So I think that their key is units with an S, but I used unit here without an S for my variable. So I'm going to put unit here, but this one I think has to be units if I remember correctly. Okay, so that's good. And then we can take the path here and put it inside fetch there. So fetch is a two-step process, and what it's going to do is it's going to return a response to us when you first call it. So we're going to await that response, and then we're going to wait for it to resolve with await, right? And then we're going to get some JSON back, and we're going to get the JSON by awaiting response.json, okay? And if all of this was successful, then we can set our data, okay? So let's do a quick test before we actually set any data. Let's do this. Let's say, why don't we do this? Why don't we do console.log JSON, okay? So this will be a test, like kind of a sanity check. If everything's working and we see the data in the browser, in the console of the browser, then we know that we can move on and do this next step. Okay, so let's put that aside here, and we'll get our console in the browser, and I'm going to pull up the console here, and let me clear it to get rid of all that extra stuff, and let's type in a zip code. Let's do 94110, and then I'll submit. Ooh, looks like we got data, so that kind of worked, right? Good for us, right? So here's our data here, and what did it give us there? It gave us like base stations, clouds, COD, coordinates, right? So I think we're pretty good here. So let's stop the video here because the next step of sorting through this takes a little while, but we did pretty good there. So now we just have to sort through the data and then set it. And we'll also have to put a step in here where we check for errors, okay? Because it's possible that if I put in a zip code that is invalid, like I just put 99 there and I submit, you're going to see that this time it loaded some data, but this time instead of getting all of the weather data, I just got an object that says 404 city not found, right? So we'll have to check for that, because if I set the data but it doesn't have the temperature on it, then I'm going to get an error down here when I try and display that data, right? So maybe I want to display the message instead, right? So we'll handle that in the next video. So thanks for watching, and then we'll continue in the next session, okay?